please. Am I audible, guys? Online students, am I loud and clear? Is everything okay? Are we good to go? Perfect. Yes, boss. Yesterday we discussed about scope. Whenever there is a need of object, it will create a new object. No pre-instantiation. No question of keeping object in the internal cache. Whenever Spring Bean object state is changing time to time, it's better to take prototype scope now, boss. No fixed state, no shareable state, no empty state. But state is changing time to time, situation. So having every changing state, better to have a new object, separate object. In that situation, what is the scope that is good, guys? Prototype scope is definitely good. No second thought in that, right, guys? Okay, boss. After that, we discussed about if you take real singleton Java class having prototype scope, what happens? What happens? As long as you enable constructor based bean instantiation, singleton class behavior is broken. If we enable static factory method based bean instantiation, we can continue singleton scope or not, guys? We can happily continue singleton scope or not, guys? Super, guys. Okay, guys. State means not transaction, Rababu, dirty fellow. State means data, right? Why is problem like yesterday? I think problem is your side. I think today no issue at all. Do you think today problem is there, guys? Okay. It's very clear, right? Okay, guys. So shall we move to more other scopes? We cannot feel them practically. Why? Because we are not developing web application yet in our Spring or Spring Boot environment. We will see them practically in Spring MVC module, Spring web module, Spring Boot MVC modules there, guys. But till that time, we have to get only theoretical knowledge. But most of the scopes you already learned in Servlet level, guys. Other than what I said, what are the scopes in Servlet programming or JSP programming? Page scope, request scope, session scope, application scope, like that I have said, na boss? Okay. Bittu is saying that add web dependency. If you add web dependency, we can work with the scopes, huh? And moreover, the dependency what you have given is right. But if you develop add the dependency not sufficient. You should develop the web application, right? Mr. Bittu, last warning. Stop showing your half knowledge. If I feel once again you are trying to become smart in front of you, I will remove from the meeting. If you just add the starter, we cannot work with the scope. Along with that, we should have an application, Spring Beans, to run in what? Spring Boot environment. I mean, it's a web application environment. Okay. So that's good. Tell me next one. And moreover, he's trying to show over smart. I have not introduced Spring Boot and he is giving Spring Boot starter to me. Mr. Bittu, if you know everything, why are you in the classroom? Go to interview. Get the show your talent in front of interview, get the job, support the family. Why are you wasting their money and time like this? Muddy fellow. What's the use of showing talent in front of those people who don't know subject? Try to show talent in front of what? Interviewer, na? At least you will settle in the life. Don't have guts to face the interviewer, but here trying to show the talent. Okay, guys, let it be. I'm taking that my project by mistake, control V type. So we will go to the chat box. And whatever it is, dirty fellow, okay, you don't have control on your activities. And moreover, who asked you to do parallel task? Who asked you to do parallel task? Listen the class carefully. Yes, boss. Today's date is 17th, na boss? Okay. So Spring Bean scopes. Total how many scopes are there? 6. How many scopes we completed so far? What is the first scope? What it says? Whatever the situation, container creates only one object. Prototype scope. Whenever object is required, it creates a new object. Maybe for every injection, new object. For every get bean method,
This meeting is being recorded.
common for entire web application. Common for entire web application. Are you getting my point there, guys? Come on. Sir, from my side, no issue. Today, everything is perfect because they worked a lot to give this solution, right? No issue, Parhan. Guys, still, are you facing the problems? Everyone facing or not? How do you know? Am I loud and clear, guys? Last 5 minutes, repeat. That's secondary. First of all, check. Are you getting audio and video? Guys, I will attend classes through mobile data. I will I will attend classes from mobile device. Everything should be perfect means not going to work out, guys. It's really not going to work out. I'm really fed up with your problems. Today, dedicated LAN network they have kept. Guys, everyone, last time please respond. Are you able to listen my voice? Are we good to continue? Nada Khan, screen is visible. Please rejoin. Voice is good. Screen is good. My video is good. Shall we continue the session? Okay, those are having problem. Please exit the meeting and rejoin. Okay, guys. So ultimate conclusion is what, guys? Ultimate conclusion is what? Request scope means the IOC container ask a request object. I am going to add one Spring Bean to you. Okay, you maintain as a request attribute. Request attribute will have which scope? Request scope. Check it out. At the rate component WMG, what is the scope I have taken, guys? What is the scope I have taken? Request. Yeah, tell me how object is created. Check it out. Request dot set attribute. This is request object, guys. What is the attribute name? WMG. What is the value? Wish message generator class object reference. So since Spring Bean object is placed inside the request object, how much life is there for request object? Same life will be there for Spring Bean object, guys. Total how many scopes are there? How many scopes we completed? Singleton prototype. Can we use singleton prototype in web applications? Yes. Can we use the remaining last four scopes in standalone applications? If you try to use, you will get what? Error, unresisted scope. If you try to use, you will get, guys, unresisted scope. Got my point? Okay, just a minute, guys. Go to this example, auto-wide scopes, SRC. Here is my what? Beans package. Wish message generator boss. Here is my at the rate scope prototype is there. In that place, I will write at the rate scope request. I will write. But right now, my application is standalone application or web application. Right now, my application is standalone application or web application. In standalone, can we do this work? Yes. Run as Java application, guys. Run as a Java application. Illegal state exception. No scope registered for the name request. Can we use this scope in standalone environment? Only in web environment it is possible. Okay, guys. What's the next scope we got, guys? Session scope. You might have heard about session tracking. HTTP session object. Yes. IOC container makes Spring Bean object allocating memory inside the session object. So request object is one per request. Session object scope is what, sir? Session object scope is one per browser software of client machine. Client machine 1, Chrome browser, session tracking is enabled on nareshit.com. Client machine 1 Chrome browser will have one session object with the Chrome browser. Same machine, Internet Explorer browser, one more session object for Internet Explorer browser. Same machine, okay, Opera browser or what? Safari browser. So for Safari browser also one more session object will be created. So what is the scope of session object, guys? Specific to browser software of a client machine. 3 Chrome browser from 3 client machine trying to do session tracking on nareshit.com. Total how many session objects are created? Got it, guys? 3 tabs of client machine 1 belonging to Chrome trying to do session operation on nareshit.com. How many session objects are created, guys? 1 or 3? Windows tabs will not be treated as separate client. Only browser software will be treated as separate client. All tabs, all windows of Chrome browser in machine 1 will be treated as same client. For them, separate sessions will not be created. For all these people together, single session object will be created. Again, voice problem? I hope it's good. Camera gone. Okay. I think things are good. Be positive. This code can be used only in web application and what, guys? A RESTful application. That's good. IOC container makes the servlet container to keep what? Spring Bean class object in which place? HTTP session object as a session attribute value, nothing but what? One per browser software of each client machine basis. One per browser software of each client machine basis. Right, guys? Okay, just now I said from 3 different machines, 3 different Chrome browser softwares are opened. Given request to Flipkart.com. Flipkart.com creates how many sessions? 3 sessions. 3 sessions means how many session objects? 3 objects. On what basis? One per browser software of each client machine. Are you getting my point there, guys? Come on. Software application interaction to, yeah. Browser to software application interaction is what? Web application. Browser to Flipkart.com. Software application interaction to another software internet. That is called distributed application. Flipkart.com talking to Paytm. Flipkart.com talking to what, guys? Roser Pay application. Right, guys? Already we discussed all these things. What is the difference between web application and what? Look at this. @ component WMG. Scope is what? Okay, tell me, guys. HTTP session SCS is equal to request.get session. Sir, I have a question. While teaching request attribute, you said request dot something directly. But when it comes to session, you are manually creating session and then showing what? Session dot set attribute. Bean ID is attribute name. Bean class object reference is what? Attribute value. Why, sir? Tell me, boss. Request response objects are servlet container created automatic objects. They are coming automatically to service method. So when request attribute is created, do I need to create request object separately? Or I will use already available object? But listen, session object is automatically created object or we should ask for it. Though container created object, but container creates only when you demand for it. Unless until you call request.get session, no session object will be created. It is container created object, but you have to demand for it. Request response, container created automatic object. Yes or no? Now, something like this. Regular food every day your mother will give, but you want special item along with the regular food, or only special item, not the regular food. You have to demand for it or not. That's quite common, right, guys? Same thing. Sir, why they have done like this? Simple reason. Out of 100 application, 100 situation, 1 2 situation only we need session tracking. Remaining situation we don't need session tracking. There may be application without enabling session tracking, right, guys? That's why they have wantedly created session object is a demanding object, not the automatically generated object. Are you getting my point? Super. Check it out. HTTP session SCS is equal to request dot get session. Creates a session object in server on one per browser software of client machine basis. Super, guys. Session dot set attribute WMG comma wish message generator object reference, guys. This is going to be bean ID. This is going to be bean ID. This is going to be what? Spring Bean class object reference, right, guys? This is going to be Bean ID. This is going to be what, guys? Spring Bean class object reference. I want reply, guys. Popular scopes in web application: request scope, session scope, application scope. In same scopes are there in what? Spring Beans. But we are not going to keep objects in those scopes. We are asking IOC container to keep them in what? Those scopes. I hope you understood what is session scope clearly, my dear. Got the clarity, boss, everyone? Super, guys. Okay, now focus. At the rate scope, next is what, guys? What is next? Listen, boss. I'll give best, first of all, real life example to understand this scope. I have data and I only want to use it. What is that? A request scope. I have data, but me and my family members wants to use it. Session scope. I have data, anyone in my colony can use it. What is that? Application. So smaller scope is what? Request. Okay, bigger scope is application. In between session scope is there. Specific to each request, request scope. Specific to each client, session scope. Specific to one application, but any client can use, any request can use. What is that? Application scope. Specific to one web application, but the data can be used by any client, any request. That is what? Application. So with global scope or not, guys? Yeah, tell me, boss. Specific to request means request object. Specific to client means session object. Specific to web application means which object is there? Servlet context object. You heard about that? One per web application. The moment you deploy the web application, servlet context object will be created. Okay, in JSP, same object is called as application object. Remember that. In servlet, that is called servlet context object. In JSP, same object has renamed as application object. With that name only, they have given application scope. Clear, boss? Okay, now listen. This scope can be used only in web application and RESTful application. Cool. IOC container makes servlet container to keep Spring Bean class object in what object? Servlet context object as servlet context attribute value or application attribute value, which is one per entire web application. Irrespective of what? Number of requests that are coming, and irrespective of what? From which browser software those requests are coming. Servlet context object is one per web application. Scope is application mean Spring Bean object is kept in what? Servlet context object. Now that Spring Bean can be used by any request coming from any browser. Why? Because Servlet context attributes are globally visible attribute within the web application. They can be used by any request. They can be used by what? Any browser generated request. Are you with me, guys? Specific to each request scope, specific to each client session scope, specific to web application common for any client and any request. Specific to each client common for what? Any client. Common for any client. Then who is that, guys? Application. Enjoyed my statement, guys? Super, guys. Okay, now first we will look at this. Keeps a Spring Bean class object as a application attribute having Bean ID as attribute name and the Spring Bean class object reference as what? Attribute value. @component WMG scope application. Yes. Servlet context SC is equal to get servlet context of. We are getting access to servlet context object. Is that clear, my dear? I want reply, boss. SC dot add attribute. Come on. WMG Bean ID. And here what is there? Attribute value. This is attribute name. This is attribute value. Are you getting my point there, guys? Come on. This is attribute name, this is attribute value. Request scope, one per each request. Session scope, one per each browser software of client machine. Application scope, one per web application. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Okay, here clarity. When to use which scope? When to use which scope? If Spring Bean state or data is empty or fixed or shareable, then prefer going for what, guys? Already we have a lot confident. Spring Bean is having no state or fixed state or shareable state. Better to go for? Okay. If Spring Bean state or data is varying state, varying means time to time changing, situation to situation, then prefer going for? Okay. If Spring Bean state or data is form data, login form data. Login form data is same for all requests or changes time to time? Login to login I'll change. From one browser I will login with my username password. Some parallelly or simultaneously from other browser window, some other fellow will login with his username and password. Right, guys? Form data, then go for what, guys? Inputs are coming. These inputs are common for all the requests or common specific to each request. For example, listen. Form data are two types. Some form data you have to keep in what? Request scope. Some form data you have to keep in what? Session scope. That's a be careful here. Be careful here. I am giving my bill details in my request. It has to calculate discount amount. These details will change are specific to each request, na boss. So it's better to store data in what? Request scope. If inputs are changing request to request, then better to store that data in what? Request scope. First store in Spring Bean object and keep that object in what? A request scope. Are you getting my point? If Spring Bean state is form data, then go for what? Request. If Spring Bean state or data is login username password, then go for session scope. Okay, some mismatch happened. Login username password specific to each request, but once given till the end of the session, same thing would be continued, right? Now, Tell me, boss, they change request to request screens wise, but they need to be continued until the end of the session or not. That means they are not specific to request, they are specific to client. They are specific to each session, log in to log out, right, guys? If you want to continue data during the session from login to log out, then better to go for what, guys? Session scope. Specific to each request. Next request data disappeared, no problem. Then go for what? Request scope. Clear, guys? If Spring Bean state our data is common data for entire application, then go for what? Application scope, common data for entire application. For example, I'm maintaining request count, guys. I'm maintaining users count. I'm maintaining request count, logins count, right, guys? And then what happened, boss? The count should be visible for every request given by any user, belong to any customer. This login count and request count should be incremented globally as per web application. Come on, guys. See, though I started count, that should be visible to next user who is coming. It should be visible to next request I am giving. Next request he is giving. Next request, okay, that fellow is giving. And that means whatever count you are taking, that count should have a global visibility within the web application or not, guys. In that situation, what should I go for? Application scope. Okay, guys. When I say common data, request scope, login count. Like what, guys? Request count or login count. Like request count or login count can be done by taking the support of application scope or not. Final conclusion. Spring Bean object is not going to have state or fixed state or shareable state. Shareable means like country's information, which will not change much, right, guys? Singleton. State is changing time to time in standalone or web application. Prototype. Change is changing request to request. Form carrying inputs. Form carrying input. Array, one event is happening, 10K run. Form is given, Google form kind of thing. So they will check. Every user gives new information or not, guys. In that situation, what is the better one? Request. Okay, data is given by form, but that is should be continued from login to log out. Session starting to session ending, right, guys? That means it should be visible across the multiple requests, but specific to a client, specific to a browser, right, boss? And then what is the one? Session scope. Okay, common data, not specific to any request, not specific to any user, not specific to any client, but it should common for everyone, right, guys? Specific to web application, common for every request, common for every user. Then what we have to use, guys? Then what we have to use, guys? Simply we need to use application scope. Clear, guys? Got the point, my dear? I want reply. Super, guys. Everyone getting my point there, guys? Come on. Okay, now listen. This is very tricky question. Concentrate. Application scope for entire web application, one object. Singleton scope, one object. What is the difference between application scope and singleton scope? Don't read my answer. First you think, Ra Babu. People started reading answers. Singleton, one object. Application for entire web application, one object. Then, what is the difference between singleton and application? In which situation singleton, in which situation application? Both says one object only, na? I will tell, listen carefully. Listen carefully. Some situation for better programming was we take 2-3 IOC container in a same web application. How many? Parent IOC container, child IOC container. Some services we use by using first IOC container. Some other services we execute by using what? Second IOC container. And we keep them relationship between both IOC container as parent and child IOC container. This hangama is there. For all UI components, one IOC container. For backend component, business component, one IOC container. And we keep them in relationship so that perfection will be there, speed will be there, performance will be there in the web application. Possibility is there. Maybe I have not experienced, but possibility is there. You believe me now? Okay, guys. Now listen. In that situation, if I take the scope as singleton, and I'm using a Spring Bean in 2 containers, parent container and child container, or 2 independent containers, whatever it is. How many objects are created, guys? First container, 1 object. Second container, 1 object. Come on. Here container is creating object, container is managing object. First container its own internal cache, second container its own internal cache, first container its own pre-instantiation, second container its own pre-instantiation. Come on guys. The number of IOC container increased or decreased. I want 1 object in the web application for my Spring Bean. Then we have to bring what into picture? Applications, because web application is only 1. So how many servlet context objects will be created? 1. Application scope of Spring Bean means where it allocates the memory, servlet context object. How many servlet context objects are there? 1. So how many objects will be created? Final conclusion is what? In a web application, if you take multiple IOC containers and if your Spring Bean scope is what? Singleton, and you are using that Spring Bean in all the IOC container, then per IOC container, 1 object will be created for singleton scope Spring Bean. Yes or no? Na? If same Spring Bean scope is application, irrespective of number of IOC container, only 1 object will be created for what? IOC container. Only 1 object will be created what? IOC container. Srinivas, this needs servlet knowledge, boss. This needs servlet knowledge, please. Okay, if you show frustration useless, you should have a servlet knowledge. Without servlet knowledge, this topic goes a bit dry. Clear, guys? I think the people who are having servlet knowledge, are you enjoying? The people who are having servlet knowledge, are you enjoying? Okay, that's what I said. This demands servlet JSP knowledge. Those who don't have, just listen and try to something in the brain. When you after learning web application, after learning servlet, you can cope up with this content. You can happily cope up with the content, right guys? Okay, now concentrate. Singleton scope means 1 object for Spring Bean per bean ID with respect to each IOC container. Convinced, guys? Application scope means 1 object for Spring Bean per bean ID with respect to entire web application. One is container specific, one is web application specific. If we create NIOC containers in one web application, then n objects will be created for singleton scope Spring Bean and only 1 object will be created for application scope Spring Bean. Simple statement, right guys? Singleton scope Spring Bean object is kept internal cache of IOC container to make it reusable within the IOC container, right guys? Whereas application scope Spring Bean object is kept in servlet context object to make it reusable in what? Entire web application. Where it is maintained. Singleton means internal cache which is specific to IOC content. Application scope means what? Inside the servlet context which is specific to web application. Both looks one object, but if you go more in detail, they are different or not, guys? Per container, one object. Per web application, one object. Suppose you have taken one container in one web application. There's no much difference between what? Singleton scope and applications. How many containers are there? One. How many objects are created for singleton? For application scope, how many objects are created? Then no difference. Both same. That's why people ask this question. What's the difference between what? Singleton scope and application scope. Convinced or not? When the difference can be found? If you create multiple IOC containers in one web application, singleton scope Spring Bean will be created how many times? Multiple. Application scope Spring Bean object will be created how many times? This is one point you have to highlight. In a Spring-based web application, if I take multiple IOC container, then singleton scope Spring Bean will be created multiple times. That means objects will be created multiple times. In the same application, application scope Spring Bean object will be created only for one time. Singleton scope Spring Bean is specific to each IOC container. Application scope Spring Bean is specific to each web application. Come on, guys. I have given diagrammatic representation also. Check it out. This is my web application. How many IOC containers are there? 3 are there. How many data objects are created having singleton scope? Date class object 1 singleton. Date class object 2 singleton. Date class object 3 singleton. Okay. How many date class objects are created when I take date class scope as a single application? When I take date class scope as application, date class object application scope. Come on, guys. When I take data class scope as singleton, when there are 3 IOC container in my web application, how many objects we got, guys? When I take the same data class having application scope, how many objects are created, guys? At least after seeing diagram, some bulb blown or not blown. Suppose IOC container is one number. Okay. Same Spring Bean, okay. I have taken singleton scope and application scope. One time singleton, one time application. Then both behavior same na, boss? But then also small difference is there. Singleton means it is stored inside the IOC container internal cache. Application scope means it is stored inside the servlet con. But objects count wise same or not, guys? Object to count wise same or not, guys? Super, guys. That's why no one uses application scope separately. If web application is having single IOC container, similar effect is coming with a singleton scope now, boss. Maximum time they will manage with what? Singleton. But when it is useful, when you have got multiple IOC. Yes. Okay, what's the last scope we got, guys? WebSocket scope. It is a new scope, guys. From up to 4 it was not there. From 5 onward this scope is introduced. Spring version 5 onward this scope is introduced. Tell me total how many scopes we have got? How many scopes we got? Singleton. What is the meaning? One object created by container. Container, add it now. Okay, guys. Next one. Prototype. Multiple objects as per the need. Request. One per each request created by IOC container. Come on, guys. Object is created by container but maintained by request object. Request object means what? container, servlet container managed object. Tell me. Session scope. One per each browsing session. That means specific to each browser, specific to each client. Object is created by container, but maintained by session object of the Servlet container. Next, guys, application. One per entire web application created by container, but managed by whom? Servlet context object. Managed by whom, guys? Managed by whom, guys? Convinced, my dear? Got the point, guys? Super. At the rate scope, what is this, guys? WebSocket. First of all, we should understand WebSocket protocol first. Actually, it is enhancement protocol for HTTP. What is that? Hypertext transfer protocol. Tell me, guys, what is the regularly used protocol for web application? Hypertext transfer protocol, right? Okay, guys, now listen. HTTP is supports two-way communication. Browser can pass the data, server can give the data. Browser can pass inputs to server, server can give outputs to browser. It's a two-way communication, but that is off-duplex two-way communication. What is that? What do you mean by off-duplex two-way communication? Until browser demands something, server will not do anything, right? NareshIT.com is there one side, browser is there one side. Everyone, without me asking something from NareshIT.com, do you think NareshIT.com displays the web page in my browser? It supports two-way communication, duplex communication, but it is off duplex or full duplex. That means client has to demand something from the server, then only server replies. Between you and me, what is the communication, guys? Half duplex or full duplex? As for your behavior, I should say half duplex. Until I ask the question, you are not opening the mouth. Yes or no? Na? I am raising the question, then you are replying. Again raising the question, again replying. Yes or no? Na? No, boss, you are so interactive. Sometimes I am asking questions, sometimes you are asking question. Then it is going to be what? But do you think HTTP is full duplex or half duplex? With half duplex, some issues are there, guys. Server is ready with the data. Can it prompt to client? See, my website is maintaining latest cricket score. I will get cricket score latest only when you request for it. Yes or no? Na? If I don't request for it, do you think updated score, guys? For example, you take Google, guys. Now you ask it for score, you will get that time score. After 10 minutes, if you don't touch the screen, what happened? Old score only will be there, na? Again, you have to say refresh. Refresh means what? Repeating the request. Repeating request means what? Again, you are asking for it, right? That means, what is the biggest problem with HTTP? It supports two-way interaction, but it is what? Half duplex interaction. Duplex means going and coming. Half duplex means until you ask, nothing happens from server side. No, some people are duplex means going and going. Half means only one side communication. No, that's wrong thing. Protocol HTTP is what? Half duplex protocol. That means it supports two-way communication, but all operation takes place only when client initiates the request. Wordings are very important. Client initiate starts the request, right, guys? This is what? Browser web application. Okay, you say web application in, this is my NareshIT.com. NIT.com, whatever it is. NIT.com. Request one is given, NIT.com is giving response one. Again, request two is generated, then only response two. So without giving any request, is there any chance of getting response from NIT? Server gives data to client only when the client sends a request to server. Automatically, everything you have to everything to request, everything you have to demand. If I don't demand answer, are you opening your mouth? That half duplex fellows, nothing but half mind fellows, right? Half duplex fellows. Agree with me, guys? Protocol WebSocket. What is that? Protocol WebSocket is what, guys? Full duplex protocol. That means it supports two-way communication and server can send data to client. Though without getting request from what? Without getting request from what? Client. This though is not fitting there. Can data to client without getting request from what? Client. Yes or no? Na? First of all, basic connection will be established because client has generated the request. Once that connection is established, boss, now it's a free. Now it's freedom is there for both. Freedom is there for both, guys. When our client wants to send inputs, it can send. When our server is ready with output, it can send. There's no question of client should ask, then only server should give. That is called full duplex communication. What communication, guys? For example, guys, live game score is going on. First time client should ask. Every time client should ask. I'm visiting stock market. I'm monitoring stock market share value. First time I will ask. Every time client should ask. Sometimes what happens, he will be the feeling refreshed and he will get the price value. He thought very much increase, let's sell. But originally it is reduced. Because old data is observing and he is doing decisions. It's very dangerous or not, guys? Sometimes we should allow server push also, not the client pulls, right? HTTP demands, client pulls every time. A client, you pull the data, I will give the data. But sometimes server push also very, very crucial, boss. Come on. Server push is very, very crucial or not? Definitely. Let's see, my dear. Protocol WebSocket WS is what? Full duplex protocol. That means it supports two-way communication and server can send data to client without getting request from the client. Without getting request from the client. Super. Here is my client, here is my web application. Client given request one, response one. Now you observe. Response 2, response 3 going to client without getting request from client. Did you notice that? For this kind of communication, what is required? Protocol HTTP or WebSocket. WebSocket is enhancement protocol HTTP. Enhancement protocol of HTTP. Sir, WebSocket looking very interesting. Why it is not popular, sir? Why still so many websites are there in HTTP? Simple reason, guys. If they entertain WebSocket, mobile data will be vanished just like that. Number one. Number two, these corporate companies or social media companies will bombard you with a lot of data though you don't want. Because server push na, boss. First time you asked www.nareshit.com. As long as that window is open, you ask, you don't ask, they will keep on sending what? That course, this course, that offer, this offer. That lunch free, this lunch free. Aisa no na? That program, this program, come on. These many are placed, those many are not placed. Come on, guys. They'll keep on sending promotional activities or not, guys. Because of that, problem number one, you feel irritating. Number one. Number two, the data of internet will be vanished just like that. Yes or no? Na? It is very danger to the market. That's why they are not entertaining. Only in specific application, trusted and registered users are there. There only they are going for what? WebSocket. In a military environment, corporate environment, within the intranet setup, not internet setup, they are going for what? WebSocket. WebSocket looks great in one angle. It's horrible in practicality. You just assume, guys, you connected to Flipkart.com. I visited the home page and you slept. And you just slept. By evening, your entire mobile data range is over. By evening, your, what is that? Data capacity will be there, na? Geo fiber capacity, whatever it is. That is gone. Why? Because they keep on sending big things to your browser. Though you are not asking for it. It's very danger to the market or not, guys. Already network consistency, so many problems are there. Look at our class. We changed the room, we changed the technicians, but still data problems are coming every day, right? That means still data is not that much consistent in India, everywhere in the world, right, guys? But in that situation, if we entertain continuous server push by entertaining WebSocket protocol, it will be very dangerous or not, guys. So that's why as of now, WebSocket is entertained only in intranet application, corporate private applications. Corporate private application. If you want to develop such applications in what? Spring environment. In that situation, we need to work with what? WebSocket scope, guys. Because that allows you to deal with what? WebSocket protocol. Clear, guys? Come on. While developing WebSocket protocol based web application, there is a chance of working with WebSocket scope. Along with the regular scope, we can also use what? WebSocket scope. We can also use what, guys? WebSocket scope. Clear, guys? Got the point, my dear? Come on. Protocol WebSocket WSE is full duplex protocol. It supports two-way communication and server can send data to client without getting request from the client. Here is my client, here is my web server. Based on the connection established between client and server for the first request, the server can send multiple responses to client without getting any request from client. Suitable for chatting applications like a Gmail chat and FB chat. But there also again it's fine. In Spring programming, scope WebSocket makes the IOC container to keep Spring Bean class object in WebSocket session that supports full duplex communication. Scope is WebSocket. WebSocket session object is created, guys. There as a session attribute it is maintained or not, boss? As a session attribute it is maintained or not, guys? This scope can be used only in web application which are running with what protocol? WebSocket protocol, that is depthless extension protocol to HTTP. It's extension protocol for HTTP. Extension protocol for HTTP. Are you getting my point there, guys? I want reply. Come on. What is the pre-instantiation and eager instantiation of the Spring Bean? What is the pre-instantiation and what, guys? Eager instantiation of the Spring Bean. Already we discussed it, guys. Come on. Along with IOC container creation process, a Spring Bean object is created. All necessary injections are completed on that object. Then it is called pre-instantiation or eager instantiation or early instantiation. Nothing but advanced ticket booking. Movie is going to be released after 20 days, but today only booked the ticket without worrying on that day you'll watch movie or not. Because it is your favorite hero movie. Got it, guys? If everything is good, you'll watch movie. If not good, you'll send someone else to watch the movie. You'll send someone else watch movie, right, guys? That generally happens for only two people in India, guys. One is for Rajnikant, one is for Pawan Kalyana. Yes. Compared to hit movies, they have given a lot of flop movies. But still openings are great. Because fans are crazy people. Okay. Junior NTR, Mahesh Babu. Mahesh Babu means I should ask this department. You like Mahesh Babu because he also looks like a girl? Okay. I'm just joking, guys. Fine. Shall we get into the discussions, boss? Okay. Literally, actually, we are just going by star craze and all these things. Technically speaking, from last 5-6 years, our superstars stopped doing acting. They are managing only with what? Body presence and background music. Nowadays, you see any latest movie, no facial expressions, nothing. We have to assume, oh, hero is feeling sad here. Hero is feeling happy here. Look at Pravas acting nowadays. Dumb face. Mahesh Babu, dumb face. Right? Maybe Allu Arjun and Junior NTR are little different. And Pawan Kalyan, every time same pattern of dialogues. No change in acting, right? Salman Khan, again, that chichora action only. Huh? Okay. And Shah Rukh Khan trying but not succeeding. Yes or no? Na? Fine. Whatever it is, guys. Superstars are just surviving based on their history. They really stopped doing what? Hard work in acting, boss. That's my personal feeling. Maybe wrong. Maybe right. Raj Kumar is not a star, Babu. Maybe for you is star. Okay. Munna by just walking only. Nothing else he will do. Typical walking will be there, right? Okay. What about actress, huh? Better not to describe them. Okay, guys. Shall we get into the discussions? Entertainment over. Okay. If the IOC container is creating Spring Bean class object, during the startup of IOC container, that is called pre-instantiation or eager instantiation of Spring Bean. What's the advantage, guys? If object is ready along with the container, I can use object whenever I want without wasting time of object creation. See, by the time I come to this floor, if they keep everything ready, I can come and start the class. But what's happening? I come, they'll say 2 minutes, sir, 2 minutes, sir. After 10 minutes, they will hand over the system to me. After that, also few problem. So that means I'm sitting idle for 10 minutes unnecessarily. Productivity is not there from my side because infrastructure is not ready. Come on, guys. Just example, not every day, sometimes. Okay, guys. So, if the things are ready before I arrive, I can come and use it. If Spring Bean object is ready along with the container creation, whenever I want, I can take it and use it without wasting time for object creation and injection. Because along with object creation, injection also will be completed, right, guys? That is good or not, guys? Spring Bean support what? Pre-instantiation of Spring Bean. That means the other sports Spring Beans do not support what? Pre-instantiation of Spring Bean. Why there is a pre-instantiation only for what? Singleton scope Spring Bean. I think yesterday we analyzed a lot, but once again I will tell why they have given only for Singleton, not for other stuff. For other bean, if they give pre-instantiation, what's the problem? Those objects also will be created during container creation process. Next time when I ask the object, new objects will be created. That means already created object through pre-instantiation process got wasted. And moreover, no guarantee that will be used. Why to create object through eager instantiation? Why to keep it idle? Why to waste memory? So better not to enable, na boss. Then same theory can be applied for Singleton also. In Singleton total, how many objects will be created? Guaranteely that will be used, na? Because by keeping in internal cache, they are trying to reuse it. So that means though object is created through early process, but there is a guarantee of utilization. That's why for Singleton scope only they have given what? Pre-instantiation. Convinced or not? You will purchase extra copy of notebook if there is a guarantee in use in future. Yes or no? But you purchase, but there is no guarantee how you will purchase, why you will purchase. Quite common, na boss. In the childhood, there is a guarantee, if not today, tomorrow you will use that copy of notebook. That's why you purchase and keep in the storeroom, right? But once you brought up, once you grow up, is there any guarantee that you will use notebooks? Especially while attending classes like me, did I entertain writing notes? Did I allow two people take running notes, soft copy or hard copy kind of thing? I don't entertain. Because I believe in digital world and digital era, right? Fine, guys. So whatever time you have to spend, write the code in the system, not the notes. Notes never makes you developer. Notes makes you what? A writer. You want to become writer? You want to become developer? Then write the program. Don't write the notes. Okay, guys. The Singleton scope Spring Beans that are having pre-instantiation during the IOC container startup will be maintained internal cache of IOC container having reusability across the multiple CTX dot get bean method call and across the multiple injection. So Singleton scope Spring Beans are having pre-instantiation because the pre-instantiated object will never be wasted. Moreover, they will be reused by keeping in what? Internal cache. First paragraph is clear. The other four Spring Bean class objects will not be placed in internal cache of IOC container. That means there is no reusability for those objects because multiple objects will be created in different scenarios. So no pre-instantiation is given for what? Other than Singleton scope Spring Bean. Other than Singleton scope Spring Bean. Note. Other than Singleton scope Spring Bean support. Other than Singleton scope Spring Beans support only lazy instantiation. Supports only what? Lazy instantiation. Yeah, this is another tricky question, guys. I want you people to concentrate again with focus. If the target Spring Bean scope, target Singleton, if the target Singleton scope Spring Bean is having prototype scope Spring Bean as a dependent. Can you tell me prototype scope of Spring Bean participates in pre-instantiation or not? Okay, now read the question. What is the target Spring Bean scope, guys? Singleton. Dependent Spring Bean scope, guys? Prototype, right? Okay, guys. So prototype scope Spring Bean participate in pre-instantiation or not? No? Array, whenever target participate in pre-instantiation, along with the pre-instance, you try to complete injections. You should inject what? Prototype scope Spring Bean. So indirectly it is forced to create object for prototype scope Spring Bean or not? Yes or no? No. Though scope is prototype, how to make that bean participating in what? Pre-instantiation. Make that bean as a dependent to singleton scope target Spring Bean. Automatically, scope is not changed, but pre-instantiation takes place. Don't think that scope is changed to singleton. Still multiple objects will be created for a dependent, right? But one object will be created during pre-instantiation so that injections can be completed on what? Singleton scope Spring Bean, which participates in pre-instantiation. Convinced or not? I'll give simple example, guys. You are not rich, but you want to become rich. Marry a boy or girl who is rich. Aisa no na? You want to get limelight, focus, entire media should be focused on you. Yes, but you don't have money or you don't have time. So try to do friendship with murderer or sequential killer. Okay, 2-3 pictures are enough. You will automatically become popular or not? Yes or no? Na? Same thing here. It should be a dreamer. Becoming murderer. Becoming murderer. Okay. So, that dependent is prototype. If it is dependent to target a singleton scope Spring Bean, dependent scope is not changed, guys. Unfortunately, dependent scope is not changed. Still scope is what? Prototype. But it also participates in what? Pre-instantiation to complete injections on singleton scope Spring Bean, guys. You want to feel that one practically? Come to this, guys. Wish message generator. Okay. Scope is whom? All the scopes I am removing, guys. No scope here. What's the default scope? Cool. Go to configuration class, my dear. Go to configuration class. Create L time. @ scope prototype. Here I am continuing singleton. Here I am continuing what? Single. Okay, guys. Now come to client application, my dear. Now main class. Here is my main class. I am commenting everything, Ra Babu. I just created container. Nothing else I have done. Okay. Now guess, boss. Now guess. Forget about printer class now. Right now we are not worried about printer class. Wish message generator, local time, local date. Total 3 beans are there. Local time, local date are dependent to wish message generate. Wish message generator is singleton, pre-instantiation. Unfortunately, The one dependent is prototype, one dependent is singleton. But still, prototype scope in object will be created and injected. Why, sir? Why, sir? Because along with the instantiation only injection should be completed. Instantiation is happening where? During container creation, pre-instantiation. So injection also should happen where? Same time. So though dependent is prototype, it is forced to have pre-instantiation, but don't think that scope is changed to singleton. Scope is still prototype. You ask that object one more time, you will get a new object, no doubt. Come on, guys, getting my point. Okay. Check it out, guys. Auto-wide test. Have a look on this. Which message generator class object is created? Singleton, that's why created. Create L time, create date. Create L time should not come as per our theory, right, boss? As per our theory, it should not come. Because it is taken as what? Prototype. But it's still coming or not coming? Because it is dependent to whom? Target. Simple theory, boss. Simple theory. You are not rich. You married a girl who is rich. You are going to enjoy her luxuriness or not? Yes or no? Na? The same thing over here, guys. Same story over here. But does not mean scope is changed to what? Singleton. Still scope is what? Prototype. Now look at the answer, guys. Actually, in IOC container creation, prototype scope being related, methods object should not be created, but still created. Only to satisfy injection of what? Singleton scope through pre-instantiation process. If target singleton scope Spring Bean is having prototype scope Spring Bean as dependent, can you tell me the prototype scope Spring Bean participates in the pre-instantiation or not? The scope prototype scope the scope of prototype scope dependent Spring Bean will not be changed to singleton scope. But the prototype scope Spring Bean participates in what? Instantiation along with the pre-instantiation of singleton scope Spring Bean to complete the injection process on it. Convinced, guys? Super. How to disable pre-instantiation on singleton scope Spring Bean? Nothing but enabling lazy loading. Though it is supporting eager loading by default, I want to have lazy loading, especially for singleton scope Spring Bean. I think already we discussed. What is the answer, guys? Lazy true, my dear. Come on. Lazy true is there. Lazy true is there here, guys. Come on. Super. Okay, now I am giving one query to you people. What is that? I have 10 Spring Beans. How can we make only 5 Spring Bean participating in what? Pre-instantiation. Can you tell me, yesterday we had a discussion on it? Any suggestion from you? 10 beans are there, but I want to see only 5 beans participating in what? Pre-instantiation. Tell me, what should I do? Quite a standard answer. Take 10 beans, 5 as a singleton scope, 5 as prototype scope, story over, right? But there is a catch in that answer. You should add one condition in that answer. There are multiple answers for this question. Yeah, answer number 1. Listen. Answer number 1. Take 10 Spring Beans, 5 as a singleton scope, 5 as prototype scope, but don't make prototype scope Spring Beans as dependent to singleton scope Spring Beans. Yes or no? Point. Answer number 1. Lots of people give only first half of the answer, they forget second half. Person like me says, if I make a dependent spring beans having prototype scope as a dependent to what? Singleton scope spring beans, what happens? Generally, they don't analyze that much depth, right, guys? Okay, that's the answer. Next one. Take all the 10 spring beans as singleton and enable lazy on 5 spring bean and make sure that these lazy enabled beans are not dependent to other 5 spring beans. Are a singleton lazy, but that lazy bean is dependent to what? Eager bean. Again, that also becomes eager na boss. Again, that also becomes eager na boss. Come on. Basically lazy. But what to do? That lazy bean is dependent to eager singleton scope bean. Eager singleton scope bean is pre-instantiated. That time only try to complete injection or not, guys? What is the second answer, my dear? Take 10 beans as singleton scope, but enable at lazy true on 5 beans and make sure that these 5 beans are not dependent to other 5 beans. Make sure these 5 beans are not dependent to other spring. Last answer. Develop 10 spring beans. Develop 10 spring bean. 5 having singleton scope. 5 having prototype scope and no dependency among these beans. All are independent beans. All are individual and independent beans. Then no question of worrying about pre-instantiation of prototype scope spring beans. Clear, guys? All are independent beans. Forget about 5, 10. I'm developing all that 10 as what? Independent bean. Only 5 beans are enabled with a singleton. Other 5 beans are enabled with what? Prototype. So total how many will be participating in pre-instantiation? Only how many of the participating in pre-instantiation, guys? Only 5. I hope you enjoyed this answer. This is my tricky question. If you are doing well in spring bean scope, at the end I will launch this kind of question. If this kind of queries are asked, at the end of interview, you can tell to interviewer, when did you complete course with Natras? Because generally my old student ask this kind of what? Tricky question and corner question. Generally, no internet or no books will talk about all this thing. So, but when they have asked this kind of question, don't be happy face. Don't keep happy face. Don't give immediate answer. If you keep happy face and if you are giving immediate answer before he completes the answer, sorry, question or question formation, okay, his ego will be hurted. And his ego hurted means he will try to search for another difficult question, another corner question. Why all these headaches? When this kind of queries are asked in the interview room, you have to say first, great question I never heard so far. Great question I never heard so far. Ego level 1 is satisfied for interviewer. Arey, everyone likes appreciation, Ravavu. Some people shows happy face, some people internally feels happy. But everyone likes appreciation. There's no one who don't like appreciation, right? Some people will carry that appreciation attitude for lifelong. Some people will remember for some time, next time back on duty. That's a different. That is called maturity, right? Okay. When you this question, this kind of corner typical questions are asked. Okay. First answer, great question. I never got this question these many years. I never analyzed a subject in this angle. But you have to say, let me try, sir. Let me try. Let me try. Better not to say, sir. You can call him with his name. Because you are a guest to the company. You are not a job seeker there. You will be treated as a guest. Your guest always calls with your name only, right? And in corporate industry, no sir, no on this one. You can take the name. You can take the name. Though Ratan Tata is coming and addressing you, Mr. Tata, Mr. Ratan Tata, you can use that word. With respect means Mr. Or some don't G, Ratan Tata G. But there's no need of adding sir, Garu, Miru. Okay. Respectable, dear. No, dear means wrong meaning will come. Okay. So whatever it is, guys, you can take the name. Then you try to hit your head for 1-2 times like this. Because he asked a great question. We should act as if we are thinking for answer. Something like this, right? This. Okay, after that, you give the answer that is there in the paintbrush content. Then what happened? We created win and win situation. You have given the feeling, he asked a great question, and you also got the answer, which is a known answer for you. An interview is all about mind game, guys. If you play mind game properly, you can make interviewer to ask next question what you like. Very simple. No interviewer comes to okay, guys. Pawan Kumar, I should teach you acting. You are not actor at all. Go and ask your parents. They will tell how much acting you have done to purchase the laptop, to purchase the bike, to purchase the bicycle, right? Yes or no, na? And you might have written a lot of competitive exams which are not really there in the market to collect the fee from the parents. Yes or no, na? So many competitive exams, so many exams you might have written, alpha, beta exams also. Okay. So everyone is the best example for polymorphism, right? Everyone is the best example for polymorphism. How you behave in front of me is different from your friends, different from with your parents, different with your cousins, different with your Sona Sonu. Esa Nona. Right, guys. So that's why every person is actor, every person is the best example of what? Polymorphism. Okay, guys. Please repeat component scope previous speech. Mr. Raju, there is no word called component scope. Mr. Raju, attend classes regularly. There is no scope called @component scope. Component is for what purpose? To make Java class as Spring Bean. @scope is for what purpose? To define the scope of that Spring Bean. Both are two different entities, right? And don't create a new Spring which is 8.x or 9.x. Already we have a lot of things in 6.x, right? Worst fellows, guys. Yes, guys. Tell me. Yeah, when this kind of corner questions are asked, what you should do? You should act. Then you have to give the answer. Then you can create the win and win situation. You answer all 100 questions asked by interviewer, no guarantee you will get the job. But you have given confidence that you can handle any situation, though you don't know the subject, you will get a job. Clear? Your body language, facial expression, confidence in your answering should be reflected to the interviewer. Then interviewer should feel, if I take him in the team, tomorrow he is not going to suffer me. He is going to survive on his own. He is going to complete the task. Though you don't know, he can ask someone, he can search in the Google, he can get the content and he can use the content. Otherwise, what happened? Anna, please tell. Anna, please show this. Not going to work out because he has to do his work also, right? That's why they search for confidence. Subject, you may do well, you may do wrong. Confidence, it should be accurate. Though you give wrong answer, you should be in a position to tell, in my company, that is the policy, we followed it. Is there any guarantee all policies are same every company? If it is process oriented questions, guys, though it is wrong, you can tell that we followed that. Technical question, API related question, if you know answer, if you don't know, don't drag, don't rotate much time on it. Okay, guys. Okay, this question answer I will give in tomorrow's session. I think yesterday also I had raised this one as assignment. Anyhow, in tomorrow's document, this question answer is there. We'll see that one. Okay, we'll see that one. You got the basic answer of this question now, boss? Right. So with this, we completed discussion on what? Scopes. So that we can move to next discussion, that is stereotype annotation. What annotation? Okay. So far we are seeing only one annotation to make Java class as Spring Bean. No, boss. There are multiple annotations to make what? Java class as a Spring Bean plus many other things. For that purpose, multiple annotations are there, guys. Those annotations together call as what? Stereotype annotation. Why they named it like this, guys? All annotation more or less doing same thing with minor differences. That's why they named it as what? Stereotype. Are generally boys dressing is called stereotype dressing. They may say a number of things. At the end, they wear what? Pant and shirt. Stereotype dressing or not? But can you say girls dressing is stereotype dressing? No. They have variety, right? And society accept whatever color they wear, whatever pattern they wear, whatever style they wear, right? But if boy wears out of box dressing, yes or no? Na? If boy wears out of box dressing, is it accepted by world? Accepted by your family members? Forget about world. No, na? Ah, right. So you may say I have that dress, this dress. At the end, they are stereotype dresses only. Yes or no? Na? So similarly, there are multiple annotations, 6, 7 annotations are there. All of them are given for what? Making Java class as Spring Bean, but with small differences. So that is what we are going to discuss in tomorrow's session. In all those annotations, the basic low-level annotation is what? @ component. That's why I have introduced first. Yes or no? Na? Right. Super. Okay, guys. I think here is the personal issue. Are online student, before writing, just think what you are writing, Ra Babu. Okay, let me upload the material. What's your batch code, guys? 11 o'clock? 16:08. Okay. Spring Core module. Right click, file upload. 618 or 701? 1102. 1102 Spring Core. More on Spring Bean scope. Right. Thank you, guys. Have a nice time. We'll meet tomorrow. We'll discuss more. Notes not saved. Already saved.